In a move that can surprise many, India withdrew from the climate summit in 2028, which India actually proposed to host. So let us understand this from the perspective of prelims examination firstly. That firstly, understand the rotation rule of the conference of parties. Whenever the conference of parties are actually hosted, the United Nations have 5 recognized regional groups. You have to keep this in mind for prelims. The African states, the Asia Pacific states, Eastern European states, Latin American, Caribbean states, and Western European and other states. India falls under the Pacific group. So this is where we understand that all of the future COP summits are based on this rotation. So one country would actually hold the presidency of one COP, then it would go on to the next group and to the next group and vice versa. Right? And that is where we have to start from 2023 December, when our Prime Minister announced at the Dubai summit that India would host the summit in 2028. In July 2025, MOEFCC dedicated a special step, right, for this particular candidacy. But right now, we are signing an withdrawal letter. For example, in the upcoming times, the COP30 at Brazil, COP31 will be taking place at Turkey, Australia. COP32 will be taking place at Ethiopia, and 33 will be taking place right now in South Korea, if it is going ahead with it, because it is the only country right now expressing interest in our Asia Pacific group. Right? And all these things, all these events are actually fixed 2 years in advance. So the latest summit, which actually took place in Brazil, and the next summit and the next summit after that will be rotating alongside here. But India actually updated its NDCs, nationally determined contributions. Now, nationally determined contributions are some national climate goals. For example, India has told that, okay, we will try to have 60% of our electricity from non-fossil fuel sources by 2035. So, isn't this a climate goal right now? It is. Also, India has told that we will be reducing our emission intensity of our GDP. So, this is a total amount of emissions according to your GDP that a country is actually emitting. So, we will be reducing it to 47%. Also, we will be having more carbon sinks. For example, we will be increasing the carbon sink by 3.5 to 4 billion tons of carbon equivalent. Right? And this is where we have recently actually tried to revise our 2035 goals. And this is what you have to keep in mind, that India right now is shifting from hosting the COP merely to actually taking actions under these particular steps. So we are trying to save a lot of money, because hosting a conference of party is a very huge amount of logistical nightmare. It requires huge levels of effort and financial burden. That is why India is trying to save that money and try to safely host that in some other country while we take climate actions. Because there is a lot of country pressure regarding the hosting of these kind of international conferences. Also, right now we are allowing South Korea, which is a very close ally of us, to take care of the summit for that particular year. Now, in this article, there were 2 conventions which are mentioned, the Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement. Since these are highly important static information, we have to revise them right now. Firstly, you know that the Kyoto Protocol was actually created in 1997, and it was, one of the few legally binding agreements internationally to legally decrease the global greenhouse gas emissions. And originally, we had a target to reduce from 1990 levels to 5%, right? And only it required developed countries to provide funds and compensations, which made Kyoto Protocol one of the few agreements to have limits on the developed economies. That is the US and the Western European countries, which were historically responsible for majority of the pollutions internationally, right? And here targets were set, but time frame were not actually adhered to. And that is why slowly Kyoto Protocol actually withered away. It is no more in force right now. because withdrawal of major countries actually totally rendered it ineffective. Then we had the Paris Climate Agreement, which actually set a goal that we should not be increasing the global temperature by more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, according to Climate Action Tracker, we see right now we are already at 1.3 degree warming in 2023 itself. So it will be becoming very, very difficult to adhere to the Paris Agreement goal, which is in any ways a non-legal binding agreement. But still, it has told that we cannot rise the global temperature to more than 1.5 degree above the pre-industrial revolution times, right? And in this spirit, the Paris Agreement asked all the countries globally who are signatories to it to frame nationally determined contributions, all these national goals, which India also recently revised, if you can see here. So this will be very, very important for your mains and prelims examination, guys, because this is a drastic and major change that India has right now enacted. Now we shall look into some of the PYQs from 2016. Do let me know what is the answer in the comments below. Now we'll be moving on to the next one.